Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today for this edition of our What's New and Next with Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops webinar series. Today, we're joined by Monica Grismer and Paul Carley, both from the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops product marketing team, and they'll be walking you through some of the latest updates and enhancements, and essentially all of the newsworthy items that we'd like to share with you about what's new from a Citrix VDI and DAS perspective. We expect these updates to take about 45 to 50 minutes of the allocated time today. And if you do have questions throughout the presentation, please do ask them via the Q&A chat window, which is located to the right-hand side of your screen. We have experts working on hand to ensure that we can capture all of your questions, and we'll do our best to answer these at the end of the session. Throughout today's presentation, you will find a number of resources mentioned and QR codes to help you find more detailed information about some of the features as they are presented. But just want to highlight that we will also be providing a summarized one-page handout at the end of the presentation for you to download. So please be on the lookout for that as it's uploaded towards the end. Finally, I would just like to confirm that today's presentation is being recorded and we will make it available on demand for your reference in the future. And now I'll hand it over to our presenters and we can get started. Monica, over to you.
Thanks so much, Louise. Hi, all. I'm Monica Grismer. I'm in product marketing for Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops. Paul and I are really excited to be with you today to not only look at the greatness that has come out in Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops over the past couple quarters, but also to share with you some forward-looking items as well. So we'll cover not only cloud service updates, but on-premises updates, and then additionally added in there some Citrix Analytics updates. So let's jump right in. I do want to preface this by saying, as there are some roadmap items in here, so our lawyers remind us to put this at the beginning of each presentation. Be mindful that any roadmap or forward-looking item that Paul and I talk about today is at our discretion to potentially change, but glad we can put this in here and share with you some forward-looking items so you can get that much more excited about virtual apps and desktops. I also wanted to mention that we recently had our Launchpad series that covered cloud, security, and work solutions. So here you see a screenshot of our Chief Marketing Officer, Tim Menahan. This was from September 28th. He and Joe Kim briefed us on a number of exciting updates that are happening surrounding the world of cloud, as far as Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service in the cloud and more. So today, Paul and I plan to walk you through some of those great announcements, but in a little bit more detail. And we also have updates for our on-premises folks as well. But I will say, if you missed the Cloud Launchpad or any of the other security or work launchpads, you can now watch them on demand, and we'll also have a link to the information in the page that Louise described as well. That'll be given to you at the end. How Paul and I decided to set up this webinar today, we thought it would be great to break down the new features and announcements in alignment with our key Citrix pillars. So we'll have updates around choice, experience, and security to showcase added features that we've brought to your environments to give admins the flexibility with their environments, but also new enhancements to make your users' lives easier. And then lastly, a bunch of security enhancements that honestly are more pressing than ever in this world of remote work. So really excited to jump in today. And please add any questions, comments, and chats as we go along. We'd love to get your feedback and hear what you have to say. Without further ado, let's kick it off with new features and capability to add both flexibility and choice into your environments. So Paul, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Monica. Appreciate that. And thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate your time today. We're going to kick it off first with the exciting things that we're doing with Microsoft, specifically on Azure right now. As we know, Citrix and Microsoft continue to work closely to provide our customers with like the most flexible and enhanced remote work solutions available. And we're continuing to make that available today or add enhancements to our great partnership by adding a few announcements. You may have seen some of these on a recent cloud summit. but like to just enhance the fact that these are some of the great things that are coming very soon, or they're generally available now. For example, the Citrix support for Azure VMware solution. We're now providing support for Azure VMware solutions, so you can easily manage and provision Citrix workloads between on-prem vSphere deployments or within vSphere VMware-based clouds. Citrix is all about enabling customer choice in the seamless deployment of workloads in their preferred hybrid cloud architecture. And now there are more ways than ever to enable cloud migrations. Last year, if you remember, we announced the official support for VMware Cloud on AWS. Now, VMware customers can leverage Citrix official support for Azure VMware solution, enables VMware management of Azure hosted machines. The second piece, which we're very excited about, is the announcement you may have heard recently about PBS on Azure. We're extended Citrix provisioning services to Azure, and that's going to help customers transition all their desktops and apps to the cloud at scale. Leveraging Citrix provisioning services enables faster scalability by reducing time it takes to clone and deploy large volumes of desktops, and improves deployment efficiency, which can also reduce cloud consumption costs. This is something that our on-prem customers have enjoyed for a long time. We're now bringing it to the cloud, and it's now available as a technology preview. And then thirdly, another thing that we're very excited about is our image portability service. This is also now in tech preview, and what it does is it enables admins to manage a single Windows image, which is optimized for multiple resource locations, which provides increased admin efficiency in migrating workflows for hybrid deployments. With this new image portability service, you only need to create an image one time for your on-premise environment, for example, and then the service automatically transforms the image for Azure or Google Cloud. This service, as I mentioned, is in public preview, and we have some information that we'll be providing you later in this webinar that'll talk about how you can get involved in trying out those services today. Also, we want to talk about, and you may have heard us recently talk about some of the recent announcements that we made around our expanded partnership with Google. Citrix and Google are doubling down on our efforts to deliver innovative technology to help power your IT services. And we're excited to share some of the ways that Citrix is working with Google Cloud to provide you with some flexible solutions to help meet demand. As you can see here, these are some of the sneak previews that are coming soon that we're getting prepared to offer customers as this Citrix and Google partnership. Some of those include having a Google Cloud management plane, being able to offer Citrix virtual apps and desktops for Google Cloud available within the Google Cloud Marketplace. So if you leverage Google Cloud Marketplace, you'll actually be able to subscribe to those solutions right from there. Also, we're looking at a new desktop as a service solution using Google Cloud, and obviously so much more. We're just scratching the surface. So we're excited about this opportunity. We're asking customers to keep your eye open and stay tuned for more as we roll into 2022. You should see a lot more information as this moves along. However, with those announcements, we aren't just looking at future collaboration with Google. We continue to enhance the capabilities of deploying on GCP today. And you can see here, these are just a few of the recent enhancements that we've made to help if you're considering deploying on Google Cloud or want to leverage that capability of being able to deploy on the cloud using your cloud services. Some of those include, again, support for Google Cloud customer managed encryption keys, right? So to be able to provide a greater control over keys used to encrypt data within a Google Cloud project. Also, we now offer app layering support for Google Cloud Platform. Being able to support shielded virtual machines. So with that, admins can now provision shielded virtual machines on Google Cloud. What this offers is a higher level of security against remote attacks, privilege escalation, malicious insiders. So more value add there. And then lastly, this is another tech preview that we're starting to roll out, which is MCS support for suspending and resuming VMs. Admins now have the capability to suspend and resume VMs in Google Cloud by leveraging MCS. With being able to suspend allows users to save state and be able to resume the work later, which basically improves your user experience, and at the time saves computing costs as well. So again, we're not only looking at the future, we're looking at now. So giving you as the IT folks or those that are in consideration, the flexibility that you can deploy on Azure, on Google Cloud, and AWS, and so much more. So we continue to spin those out and bring value and give you those options today.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Every time you give those updates, I just find it so impressive the amount of innovations we're creating across all of the hyperscalers that we partner with. So as you said, Azure, Google, AWS, we have a lot of great innovations already today, but also coming soon. So really excited for the future of those partnerships. But speaking of partnerships, I wanted to mention our announcement that we made during the Launchpad. You see Tim Minahan made another cameo here today on the right there. We announced our partnership with Nutanix and our growing partnership together. So as a part of that announcement, Citrix will become the preferred enterprise end user computing solution on the Nutanix cloud platform, which is really just solidifying our partnership that we've had with Nutanix and growing it as well. And then additionally, Nutanix will become a Citrix preferred choice for HCI hybrid and multi-cloud deployments. So continuing with our alliance partners and really broadening these partnerships means nothing but good things for our end users and our customers.
I agree, Monica. Yeah, Tim is probably going to be happy to see him throughout our deck here today. But we promise it wasn't for brownie points.
Totally.
Yes, and of course the Nutanix stuff, that's exciting and really good. We're glad to be continually our partnership with them and expanding there. And then one other thing that we'd like to mention, and you've probably heard us talk about it in the past couple of months, is our focus on what we consider DaaS, or desktops as a service type of services that we're beginning to offer. And I kind of want to just talk about that a little bit and kind of set the record of what that looks like today. You know, in the last 2 years, obviously with the pandemic, we see that employees are spending more time working remotely than ever. And we understand that that causes companies to rethink how IT services should be delivered. So what we've done is Citrix is continuing to enhance and develop features and services like DaaS in order to help simplify those deployments and make it easier for IT to be agile enough to scale on demand when it's needed, right? So what we've done is we've focused on these DaaS type services to what we'd like to consider modernize IT. And how we've done that is we've recently redesigned our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops Quick Deploy feature, which is within our cloud service, to match our current Desktops as a Service offering. Some of you may know it as Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops Standard for Azure, or CMD as others. And what we've done is we've taken that UI and brought it into the full service. And it makes it easier for current cloud customers to spin up the desktops on demand to meet those business challenges like you've seen today, and including things like business continuity and being able to support temporary workers for busy seasons. We all know Christmas is coming, and you know the need to bring on a temporary workforce in order to meet those needs is important. So things like DaaS can help spin up those things at scale quickly and only pay for what you're using. And that's where we came in with Citrix Manage Azure. And what we brought into the table with that is it's a feature within our DaaS services that provides a simplified managed Azure capacity that basically enables you to, again, spin up workloads in Azure and deploy them on demand without having to manage an Azure subscription or have to manage that separately. What we've done is we give you the ability to scale up on demand, and with when you sign up for this Azure managed Azure service, now you can scale up on demand, and Citrix will just bill you and manage that piece of it for you, and just bill you for whatever services that you're using at that time. What's great is that if you're not using it, you can scale it down. And you're only paying for what you've used at that time. We bill you conveniently. That's what makes this program unique, and it makes it simplified and flexible for our users today. So we invite you as customers to check out our quick deploy feature. It's based in there. You can go see it yourself through the management plane, and see for yourself and check it out and try it and see if it's something that you like. We hope again we're continuing to enhance those services and make it even more easy and flexible for you today. But we kind of wanted to set that straight so you guys understood where we came from and what we're trying to do there. And again, we hope you try it out and see if it works for you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. That quick deploy solution really leans into our DAS story and offloads management. So it's been a great win for a ton of admins. I also wanted to touch on really quickly here our extensions that we've made to Citrix Cloud Japan. So we're happy to announce that Citrix Workspace for Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops control plane is now in the Japan region. So customers that have regulatory requirements to have Citrix management services in Japan can now manage and provision their workloads directly. So this is great news for individuals within our APJ region. I will say that up to this point in our presentation, we have focused heavily upon the cloud for, great reason, right? There's so much choice that comes with how to deploy in the cloud, what hyperscalers you want to use. Maybe you're deploying both cloud and on-premises workloads. But we also understand a ton of organizations leverage our on-premises products, and we're continuing to roll out new features and updates in those as well. So specifically here, I wanted to touch on the Bda Restore feature. So we know that when working at scale in enterprise IT, you undergo a number of checks and balances and testing when looking to update software. But we also know that everyone's human and mistakes can happen, and in rare cases, your upgrades may fail. So that's why we're really excited to introduce the Bda Restore feature to help make admins' lives easier. This feature will create a restore point leveraging Microsoft's system restore capability at the beginning of the installer upgrade. So if the installation or the upgrade happens to fail, the software automatically restores the VDA back to its pre-upgrade state. So overall, this feature really reduces the overhead of deploying a new VDA and remediates any failed install, which can be a big deal, as we all know, in the world of enterprise software and having large-scale deployments. So this is a great new feature.
That is a good feature, Monica, and yeah, I think it's something that many will appreciate. And to play also on that theme of continuation of supporting for our both on-prem and cloud customers, we're excited that Microsoft has now decided to roll out Windows Server 2022, and Citrix, as always, Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops provides day one support for this OS. Again, with the focus of security and streamlined management, Citrix technologies running on top of Windows Server 2022 is actually a fantastic benefit for our VDI and DAS customers. This new server release gives admins the flexibility to host their infrastructure where it works best for their business. And while we know that most IT admins aren't looking to immediately implement Windows Server 2022, you want to start testing, you have your own plan. We want to, let you know that Citrix gives you that certainty that when you're ready to test and implement Windows Server 2022, your environment is already ready to go. So you can begin testing now. In the future, you know that you're safe and you're able to go ahead and do it. And you should be able to roll that into your current deployment with no issues there. So we're excited about offering that. And again, it promotes the fact that Citrix and Microsoft are continually working together and making it easy and easier for our customers to leverage those unique services.
So shifting back a little bit towards some cloud updates, I wanted to touch on service continuity. So if you tuned into our What's New webinar from a couple of quarters ago that our colleagues Alan Formansky and Nitin Sharma presented, first of all, thanks for joining us again, but also second of all, on that webinar, you would have heard that we were in tech preview for service continuity at that time. So now we're really excited to say that service continuity is generally available for Windows, Mac, Linux, and Chrome and Edge browsers with the Workspace App for Windows extension, with the extension in Workspace App for Windows installed on the endpoint. So this capability, for those of you who aren't as familiar, has been really long awaited by organizations because it's designed for high availability and resiliency when leveraging cloud workloads. So service continuity delivers as good as, or a lot of times better than on-premises resiliency. The solution works if you have a communication issue from your cloud connector back to the Citrix Cloud platform, or even if there's an outage, users are still able to connect to their resources. And this is as long as there's a connection to any gateway appliance to the backend VDA. So we're seeing a ton of customers choose Citrix Cloud, not only over our competition, but also over on-premises deployments because of this feature alone and the resiliency and availability it provides. So for those of you on the call familiar with on-prem local host cache, you might be saying, okay, Monica, I've seen this, seen it, done it before. What's the difference here? I will say that local host cache isn't designed to really handle the nature and scope of the outages that service continuity can in terms of cloud connector failures or full platform failures. So it's much more comprehensive overall. And it works by leveraging long-lived secure lease files on the endpoint to make sure users can connect to necessary resources at all times. Also, a little plug here in the bottom middle, be sure to grab your camera and take a scan of that QR code. Paul put a few of these QR codes together, so they're kind of little Easter eggs in our presentation today. But that will send you to the Cloud Resiliency Tech Brief on TechZone. So be sure to take a look. I have a short showcase video of what this looks like comparing to end users. Before I jump into it, I'll say the individual not leveraging service continuity is on the left and they can't access their resources in an outage, but the user on the right is leveraging service continuity and the content acts as normal. So as I said before, this works by using connection leases instead of ICA files for the Workspace app to be able to connect back to virtual apps and desktops. I'll also mention here you see on the right, users aren't going through an authentication platform, so they are prompted to enter their credentials, but as you can see, it was really straightforward and seamless. So overall, the reason why we've created this capability is it's an extreme form of resiliency and availability. We want to help you decrease help desk calls, increase productivity, and honestly just make sure no time and money is lost in the process of any interruption. So this has been a huge win for both Citrix and our customers. Keeping with the cloud theme, also wanted to mention that for our Virtual Apps and Desktops Premium customers and Workspace Premium Plus, we have now increased the data retention timeline within Citrix Director from the previous 90 days to now a full year at 365 days. So this gives admins a really obviously wide breadth of information and ability to view historical trends over the past year rather than just the past 90 days. So it's been a good undertaking for Citrix to be able to offer this to our customers, and I know it's a huge win for individuals monitoring their environments.
Yeah, I agree, Monica, that that 365 days improvement is something customers have been asking for. So that's really good. I think we're happy to see that as we move forward. And talking about cloud again, we have you may have heard about this earlier in the year. We've launched something called Automated Configuration Tool. Some of you may know it as Cloud Migration Tool. It's something that is a free tool that's now available for our customers that are looking to migrate from on-prem Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops to our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops service on Citrix Cloud. What it does is it enables the admin to export an on-prem configuration and import it into their cloud service. This tool helps cloud customers sync sites also in order to maintain proper configuration. So it's not just kind of a one-off tool for you to move from on-prem to the cloud and then throw it away. It's something that you can leverage on a regular basis where you can sync from cloud to cloud and make sure your services, all your deployments are together and in sync. Since its launch earlier this year, we continue to add features and enhancements to help accelerate the migration of cloud and bring value to this tool. Some of the things that you can see here that we've added in recent months are one of the most exciting things that we've been asked to do and we've been able to deploy now is the support for machine creation services to be able to export your machine creation, your MCS deployments and move them to the cloud, export them and import them, as well as things like site merging, site activation, and then obviously even migrating admin roles and scopes have been a great tool for admins to be able to make that jump from the cloud, from on-prem to the cloud. And it's accelerated their time and really made it a lot simpler for them to move, reduced any kind of mistakes or any kind of rebuild. So with those that have been leveraging it so far, we hear great things about it. And again, we invite you to leverage it as well if you're not using it, even if you've already moved to the cloud. Something, again, that you can leverage today. Again, it's free. We'll continue to enhance it and look for more additional features and enhancements as the time comes.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Paul. And if the viewers noticed, there's another QR code on there for them. You're loving the QR codes today.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably 10 years too late, everybody. But yeah, at least I figured if everybody can have one to take a picture as you go along, you can at least get it. But no, Monica has a nice PDF available for you at the end here that'll give you all these links too. So don't be afraid or don't be concerned if you miss it.
Yeah, don't be afraid of the QR codes. So wanted to keep with the theme of migration. I know a lot of customers, since we launched Citrix Workspace, have been working to make that move from storefront to workspace. But as we've moved on in our cloud journey and our cloud transition over the years, we've really worked hard to make sure we have feature parity with storefront and workspace. So I'd say we really amped this up over the past couple of years and over this past year, especially when it comes to items like authentication and resiliency. So made this really simplistic chart to showcase that we have feature parity and things like Citrix Gateway for both storefront and workspace, using Okta as an identity provider for both, SAML version 2.0, which I'll get into in just a second, and FAS. And then at the bottom here, as I spoke of earlier, for on-premises, we have local host cache that you know and love, but now we have service continuity for that enhanced resiliency. So if you were concerned about any gap from storefront to workspace, there's very few gaps anymore. So we're looking forward to customers making that shift and making that move over. To get into a bit more detail about SAML 2.0, with this integration, Citrix Workspace and Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops now supports any IDPs that use SAML 2.0. So this is now available. And it's great news for Workspace Premium Plus customers and customers using Virtual Apps and Desktops alongside other Citrix technologies. So SAML 2.0 opens the usage of any identity provider for SSO and is validated through Azure AD, Okta, Duo, and more. So really great for authentication to give, again, you guessed it, our admins the choice of how to best configure their environments and what would be best for their users.
Yeah, Monica, that is good. And another enhancement that we've been working on is our workspace environment management. A lot of people call it WEM, so that's what I'm going to refer to it as here. But as you can see, over the last several months, we've done more enhancements to this service to, again, bring more value. And I'll just hit on a couple of things here that we've done in order to, again, bring more value to this service. If you're leveraging it, it's something you definitely should consider today for your environment. Some of the things include event triggers in WEM. We can define event triggers that happen in session recording that we can use to start and stop recording. And this is you're gonna see why coming soon. Monica's gonna talk a little bit about what's going on with session recording and the enhancements we're making there. But that's going to simplify the process for admins to review recordings and locate specific events. As if you've leveraged it before, nobody wants to go through 8 hours of session record just to find one little incident. This is going to be able to define when that when that turns on, turns off, and you can see and quickly note where that event took place and be able to understand better to what's going on there. Being able to support MSI installers to support in privilege. This feature applies the privilege elevation of Windows installer files, so the user can actually elevate the privileges of non-administrative users to an administrator level necessary for Windows installer files. As a result, those users can run those files as if they are members of the administration group. So good option there. Being able to support app locker merge mode support, having the ability to bind a Citrix virtual apps and desktop service catalog to a configuration set, which is really cool. And then lastly, being able to, we're providing support for the Japan cloud that Monica talked about earlier. So now if you're leveraging Citrix Cloud Japan, you now have access to WEM in that environment as well. So a lot of good things that we're working with WEM today, and stay tuned. We have even more on the horizon as the service continues to grow and more people are using it.
Awesome, thanks, Paul. In conjunction with those great WEM updates, wanted to also give an update that kind of straddles the choice and user experience angle, and that's that of performance analytics. So our performance analytics offering has been really well received by customers because it gives a full insight into user experience and how users' environments are performing to make them even happier and make your lives easier. So over the past couple of quarters, we've added things like Hdx Metrics. So this feature tracks factors that contribute to high latency. So things like user input delay, network latency, and bandwidth consumption. We've also added new telemetry around the network that users' endpoints might be on. So to further understand session responsiveness, you can view users' network information, including their network type, their ISP, and throughput. So in addition to this, we've also added new views of how to see and take in all of this data. So you can get a more granular view of session details with this new session timeline view. It allows you to correlate factors that contribute to overall experience by looking at the specific time period that events happened. So you can look vertically. Obviously, horizontally will be the session over time, but then vertically you can compare different line items and different things that are happening to one another in this new view. And then lastly here, we've introduced new filters to our users dashboard. So this is actually the capability to filter users based on delivery group now. And admins can select multiple delivery groups at once for a more comprehensive data view. The last thing I wanted to note in this choice and flexibility section was that of the Workspace App Clients. So to enable any device to be distributed by your teams, or if you have a BYOD model, to enable your users to bring any device that they want, you need to make sure they're not only secure, but that they're working well. So our client apps teams really work to make sure that our Workspace App Clients are optimized for each type of device and each OS. As you see here for Mac, Android, iOS, there have been a ton of big OS updates. And for example, Mac is targeted to come very soon. And across all of these, we target day one support for these OSs, because the last thing you need is for your users to have their devices and then to upgrade and then for something to not work or break. So we are always ahead of this curve and always look to optimize our clients for every device. Some other updates for Workspace App for Windows, we've started a new feature to allow more the storefront to use workspace URL migration to happen much easier. So it's not as cumbersome for admins or users to be able to make that migration from storefront to workspace. And we're targeting this to roll out to our other client platforms as well. And then in Workspace App for Linux, maybe you have thin clients that you're leveraging. We have things like app protection now and service continuity and reliability improvements that we've added. So exciting stuff coming out across every single one of the platforms. So now we're going to make this shift into a section about user experience. So in this era of remote work, it's really important that your users can get their work done and get it done well, even if they're not sitting next to their IT teams all day in the office. So as we know, I think I've said it before, if the users are happy, the admins are happy. So with that, Paul, take it away.
Yeah, Monica, I totally agree. And when your users are happy, there's less calls to the help desk, so that helps all the way around. So, and yeah, kicking off on the experience side, unless you've been living off the grid, you probably heard of this thing called Microsoft Windows 11 that Microsoft just rolled out. And with this recent announcement, Citrix is excited as we talk about with our partnership with Microsoft, that we're offering day one support for Microsoft's latest OS, Windows 11. What this does is we're giving you the capability not only to deploy Windows 11, but also if you have a Windows 11 device, you can, as Monica mentioned earlier, the Citrix Workspace app works on Windows 11 as well. So we're offering a full Windows 11 day one support for you. And we know that in most cases you have a project and it's a slow rollout, and for most instances with Windows 11 it doesn't happen overnight, and we understand that. Again, we want to support you to make sure that when that does happen, you are ready to go. You may get on occasion where an executive says, hey, I want a Windows 11 machine, get me one now, or hey, I just bought a Windows 11 laptop, put Citrix on it for me right now. You can know that you have that Citrix is going to support you and it's going to work for you. So as you roll that out, Citrix will be there for you, and you should be able to get that smooth transition that you're looking for.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think Windows 11 was everywhere I looked, it felt like a few weeks ago. So really exciting that we have day one support across the board for that. I also wanted to take some time to dive in to some high definition user experience, or HDX features. So this first one is our new adaptive audio redirection. This capability is for users to improve the playback of audio within their sessions, and then also it improves redirection to make this happen. So what's really exciting about this is it's been, I think, a couple of years since we've made this major of a change to our audio capabilities within sessions. And this is going to be our new audio codec and logic that will build our audio updates upon going forward. So this is in Virtual Apps and Desktops 2109 or higher, and in Workspace App 2109 or higher. I will also say this audio redirection is more for playback within sessions, think videos or audio playback. When users are leveraging things like unified communications platforms, we have optimizations for Microsoft Teams, for Zoom, for Cisco WebEx. So that's a different functionality, but they still, you can still leverage the optimizations for those. So the audio and video and unified communications tools are optimized as well. And to give you just a wider view of some of the HDX updates that we've had over the past couple of quarters, I'd say that we really work as a team and as an organization to make sure that there's feature parity within sessions with that of what your users experience in their native environments. So for example, things like app sharing support for Microsoft Teams. So this is an availability within native Teams and is now in Citrix sessions, where it allows users to share only their Teams app instead of the entire desktop when sharing their screen. And then also looking at things like dragging and dropping of files between Outlook and Local. So this is a functionality that is available today natively, and we have now added that into sessions. We've also added updated support for Windows image acquisition scanners, and then also we've added updates to remote PC access. So remote PC really got a spotlight shown on it during the pandemic. during remote work, because it allows individuals to remote into physical desktops that they just can't reach right now. So maybe they're at home and they remote into a physical desktop in the office and they can wake it up on demand. This feature that we've added this quarter disconnects a session and logs it, a disconnected session and logs it off if a user doesn't reconnect to their session. So if it's laying idle, then the PC will be returned to a pool of available sessions to really help optimize your license usage and make sure that your infrastructure isn't being consumed by users that aren't leveraging the technology at that point in time. I also assume the vast majority of you are very familiar with Servicenow. This is huge in the industry for IT help desks, and we've had the ITSM connector for Servicenow for quite a while. But recently, Servicenow announced their own virtual agent that helps automate workflows. So we've integrated that with the Citrix ITSM connector to get the Citrix virtual apps and desktops workflow automation. So think things like reconnecting user sessions, or even giving applications that users ask for. This process can now be automated. So never fear though, you can choose which applications are available for users to request. They can't just go in and request Photoshop if you don't have enough licenses for it, and they can't just provision it themselves. But if you give specific users access to applications, then they can provision them themselves and access through this virtual agent. So really exciting stuff, and excited to grow in our partnership with Servicenow.
Yeah, Monica, I think it's great that we're doing more work with Servicenow. So many customers use it today, and having that integration is definitely brings value to both. And let's the last announcement for this segment. Let's talk and turn to Linux updates. For our Linux users, we're always working to add new features and functionality to our Linux VDA for improved performance and ease of use. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things that we've done over the past few months where we're looking to enhance our Linux offers. First and foremost, we're offering support for MCS on Nutanix. As Monica mentioned earlier, we made some announcements recently around Nutanix and our increased partnership there. And with this comes the ability that you can now use machine creation services to create Linux VMs on Nutanix hypervisor. So very important there. The ability to support Red Hat and CentOS late versions, to be able to offer those services and be able to support those rollouts today. Now you have those capabilities. Hdx session screen sharing. This is a unique thing that we started. It's somewhat of an experimental feature. What we're doing is that actually the Linux VDA can now let you share your screen to other virtual desktops with session, your virtual desktop with session users of other virtual desktops. So it's almost like its own collaboration where you can choose certain individuals that also have a virtual desktop and you can share screen and collaborate together. So it's something that we have some more information on that we can provide to you if that's something that's interest to you. But it might be a unique way to do screen sharing as well. Also, we now have Hdx Webcam video compression. This is important where with the increased use of video conferencing applications running in VDA, now we can go ahead and customers can use their webcams with this Hdx Webcam video compression. What it does is it's basically sends the webcam video compression sends the H.264 video directly to the video conferencing application running within the virtual session, which is going to give you a better performance. It's going to give you a much better, crisper video, less lag, less breakup there. So another great enhancement to add to our Linux users. And then lastly, from a security perspective as well, adding smart card support for Debian and for Ubuntu to be able to allow Linux users to be able to log log in using their smart card and pass through to the virtual desktop session. So again, a lot of Linux updates here. If you're not leveraging Linux, we're asked why not. Maybe if you're thinking about it, if you have the opportunity to start expanding on it, maybe test it out. Citrix supports a lot of great things with this, and we invite you to do that as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Paul. I know there's a lot of individuals that I know here at Citrix, even internally, that do a lot of fun things on the Linux VDA. So there's a lot of cool things to mess around with on Linux and play with, but also we're making great strides with that technology as well. So exciting updates.
I agree.
We're gonna jump into our last section here. It's a little bittersweet. Thank you all for sticking with us up to this point, but we want to say, last but not least, we're talking about security. We know security is of utmost importance to all of our teams, to anyone in the industry you talk to. So we've got some great features to jump into. To kind of migrate from the last section to the next, wanted to touch on the new Citrix Workspace Browser. I'd say this straddles the universes of user experience and security, because previously, when you launched web and SaaS apps from within Workspace, it created multiple windows, a fragmented user experience. It was a little bit clunky when opening multiple web and SaaS apps at once. There were definite security parameters that you can place on them, but now with the Citrix Workspace Browser, it's a Chromium-based browser, and it adds even a further layer of security on top of this improved user experience. So the browser allows for VPN-less access to internal web apps, but also SSO for web and SaaS apps with things like tabbed browsing, shortcuts, and bookmarks. I'll showcase in a brief video here in a second. But in addition to this really streamlined user experience, you can add things like watermarks, but also clipboard redirection and app protection policies as well. So bridging the gap of user experience and security can mean nothing but good things from your teams. So I wanted to showcase the Workspace browser here. As you see, the user within Workspace is launching a SaaS application, and you see that it's tabbed there at the top. So they've opened multiple at this point. And the experience is just as if they opened a Chrome browser. They can open a new tab. As you can see here, they can create a shortcut from this Citrix landing page that's now, once you open a new tab, that's there. But the thing is as an admin, you have the ability to say that there's off-limits websites, or say that they can or cannot copy and paste out of this. But then here you see they can add things like bookmarks and manage the bookmarks. So the user experience is really like local, right? I use this functionality basically every day. Then it's really changed the way that I work, because it's just as seamless as launching a Chrome browser from my endpoint, but it's much more secure and much more managed by my IT team. And then to a similar vein, wanted to touch on app protection policies. So app protection, for those of you who aren't familiar, is anti-key logging and anti-screen capturing software. So this has been top of mind and been chatted about for a while now, but it's huge for customers, honestly, in any vertical, in any scenario, when you're looking to lock down your endpoints more, but also especially for individuals in BYOD scenarios, or if you're looking to up your business continuity program. As we've seen over the past couple of years, things happen, and there might be bad actors that take advantage of unexpected situations. So this functionality has really increased security for a lot of teams. The announcement here is that this is available today, not only on premises, but also with CVAD service in conjunction with on-premises storefront. And it's coming very soon for virtual apps and desktop service within Workspace. So all Citrix customers will have the ability to take advantage of this, so you definitely should. And then I wanted to bring up session recording. I think session recording is a feature that is kind of a well-kept secret around Citrix, but it really shouldn't be, because not only does this allow for admins to have the ability to record full user sessions to make sure they mitigate any bad actors, but it also allows for admins to help troubleshoot. If a user runs into an issue, they don't know how to recreate it. If a session is already recorded, then they can play back that file and figure out exactly what happened and how to prevent it from happening again. I will say, to enhance security, we've also allowed for new events to be triggered within sessions. So how we did this is we've created a new web-based console. This has been live for about a year or so now. And the web console simplifies playback for our admins, but it also allows us to add new features more rapidly to the product itself. So we now have the ability to have events triggered within sessions and pop up, things like USBs being plugged in or maybe a specific app launch. And now this past quarter, we introduced event triggered dynamic recordings. So now not only do events pop up, I'm showing a screenshot of the web playback console, not only does the event pop up on the right-hand side, but now these specific events actually trigger the recording to start. So if a user is just going about their day normally, nothing to see here, nothing goes wrong, then the recording will not start. So that saves data center space as well. And then lastly, we have data visualization, which takes these events and puts them in a graphical format to make it easier for admins to get a full view at a glance of what's happening within sessions. So really exciting stuff happening here to check out.
Yeah, I agree, Monica. And that lends into what we were talking about for WEM before, and then what you're just talking about now regarding session recording. I think it's a very underused service that is available for customers today, and it's something that can be leveraged not only for, a lot of people feel it's just for regulatory compliance, but it's for so much more, as Monica mentioned. And keeping on the theme of that, in our security analytics, again, we still are enhancing these services to bring more value to our analytics services that we offer today. And again, as Monica just mentioned about those session recording insights, we've taken that service and we've actually incorporated it into our security analytics updates here. In the first instance here, we actually have the ability to import that into our security events as a customer is, as you're reviewing say maybe a timeline of a user that has a security risk score that's been inflated. You can actually click on it, drill down, and see whether those actions are that are causing that security risk score to go up. But not only that, we've incorporated a session recording piece that has been recorded through what Monica was mentioning before, and it's actually embedded in here. So not only can you see what the action was, you can actually witness what the person had done. So if you want to take action, whether it's for security purposes or just to keep yourself aware of what's going on, all those things are embedded in that service. So now we're just adding another great connection there and a great add-on service to what's already a very robust security analytics piece. And then we've also had customers ask us, hey, this is really good stuff, but I work in other apps and other applications that I'd really like to be able to leverage that information. So in this instance, we're also now adding a Citrix Analytics app for Splunk. And now that ability to, through Splunk, I have the ability now that I can access my Citrix Analytics for security data into my Splunk instance and have that handy right there. I don't have to switch windows and go back and forth and look at data and try and compare and contrast there. So I have that all right in front of me. And the same goes for other security management tools that are out there as well. We're working with many different ones and having that capability to import that data into those tools and be able to manage it through that tool that I'm comfortable with. Still brings continuous value there. So again, we're expanding what our use cases are, what we can do with security analytics, and we're just still kind of scratching the surface there. And we look forward to continually moving forward with that. And as you can see here, as we kind of wrap up, you can see this is just a quick snapshot of all the things that what Citrix has done just over the last couple of months here. You can see all the add-ons. As Monica and I touched on a lot of these, but there's still a whole bunch of other content that is available out there that are enhancements, feature rollouts, and support updates that Citrix is doing today. So our engineering team, if they're out there on the call, thank you so much for all that you're doing, the hard work. We know that it's something that is passionately driving them, and hearing back from customers and what they like to see added. We continually take that to heart. As you can see, a lot of these additional features and services that we've added are based on feedback from you. So thank you, customers and those out there attending the webinar, for giving us feedback. We continue to take that in and want to make this service even that more robust and enhanced for you. But one thing I did omit here, that Monica has something for you as a little one more thing. I'm using air quotes here. Monica, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I'm putting on my infomercial hat person here and say, but wait, there's more. So to all of you who joined us through the end of this webinar, thank you. And we're really excited to announce that we have the long-term service release slated to come out in Q1 of next year. So I know this is a really important release for customers who are in highly regulated industries, or maybe customers that just like the predictability of the LTSR. So this release takes a combination of all of the features that have been introduced from the last LTSR, so 1912, December of 2019 to now. So that'll be over 2 years of innovation. I know the 2 years, these past 2 years have been a bit of a time warp for a lot of us, but there have been a number of great things that have come out since the releases since the last LTSR. Also with support for Windows Server 2022 and Windows 11, as well as the compliance standards being vetted through this release. There's a lot to look forward to. So we look forward to that in Q1. As we round out here, I believe Louise dropped this in the chat, but these are the resources and links that we talked about today. And I know we are coming up on time, but if we want to take some questions, that would be great.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Paul. We can now open up for some questions. Just a very super quick reminder to our guests that if you haven't submitted a question yet that you'd like to ask, please do that in the Q&A window on the right-hand side of your screen. And that enables us to capture it so that we can make sure that if we don't get to that today, we can get back to you with the answer that you're looking for. So now I'll turn it over for some quick questions.
Yep, thanks guys. We've had lots of questions come in throughout the session and we've been answering those actively. There's a few I want to highlight and bring up for you guys to discuss online. So Paul, a couple for you. The first was, how do I get access to PVS on Azure? When is it available and will it come out for other platforms?
Great question. Yeah, thanks for asking that. PVS for Azure is now available in the tech preview, as I mentioned earlier. In the materials that Louise and Monica just shared with you is a link to be able to get the information of how to get started leveraging it for PVS on Azure. We are looking into 2022 to offer additional PVS services on additional clouds, so stay tuned there. I know we're very excited about offering it there. We're looking to very soon here make this PVS on Azure generally available or in a full launch mode. But we feel like you should be able to take advantage of it today and start trying it out and give us feedback. Obviously, that's what we want to hear.
All right, and we just had a question come in about the next LTSR, asking if it would have all the security patches added post CU3 for 1912, and the answer there, David, is yes. So the next LTSR will be a complete roll-up of everything that goes through the 2112 release. Again, we're looking at for the next LTSR, probably late Q1 of next year. That's not certain yet, but that's a likely target, and I think it's something to shoot for, and you'll be able to use 2112 as your pre-qualification testing base for that, right? So we'd say roll out 2112 in your pre-prod deployments, use that to do some base validation, and then get ready for LTSR next year. Paul, another one for you. So the question's around desktops as a service or DaaS workloads. They said, can we roll those out for pay-per-use monthly use cases? And then related to that, The question was, can Citrix consolidate the cloud hosting cost for workload use?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. It's you can use it on a monthly basis. If it's not sure if the question means, do you want to just use it as a month-to-month kind of service? Again, we give you the capabilities that you can leverage it as an on-demand service. If you wanted to just have the ability to roll out DAS only and you don't have our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service, we have that. Our DAS, simplified DAS, as we like to call it, feature Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop standard for Azure. That service is our true DAS simplified version where you can use it on a month-to-month basis and pay as you go. We have that capability. But if you currently have the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop's cloud services today, you have that capability built in through that that quick deploy feature. And if you leverage the managed Azure piece of it, you only pay for what you've deployed during that time frame, and you're billed for it as you need be.
Yep, thanks, Paul. And one more thing I wanted to cover before we wrap up. We had a lot of questions come in around Teams improvements and Teams hosting inside of Virtual Apps and Desktops. So tried to tackle those in the chat. And we are going to take all these questions, though, and roll them up in a Q&A blog that we'll post just around next week. So keep an eye out there. But I did want to throw in one plug for our public roadmap. So we've just in the last couple of quarters started maintaining a public roadmap for Virtual Apps and Desktops, as well as some of the other Citrix services out there. We'll make sure we get you guys that URL. The Teams items specifically are something we're going to start tracking. There are a lot of very small individual components, but we realize that they make a big difference in everyone's day-to-day use of the product. So we're going to try to expose that with more granularity so you can see what's coming in which product releases. But with that, I think Alan and I have another 15 or 20 questions to answer offline. Again, we'll get those in the blog, but I'll hand it back to you, Louise.
Oh, and one note, Adam, the link for the roadmap is within that handout.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thanks. So to all of our attendees, a huge thanks for joining and listening in on the webinar today. That handout is available for you now, and it does contain a good 20 to 30 links in there, including LTSR blog and those that we were just referencing just now. So I just want to take an opportunity to thank our presenters and our product marketing team for answering questions live today. As a final reminder, the session was recorded and we will make this available on demand and follow up with any questions that we captured but were not able to get to today. So once again, thanks for your time, and we do hope to see you at the next webinar update.